Hey YouTube, I wanted to make sure and get on before the end of the week and do a little video about car seat safety. It is Child Passenger Safety Week, so I wanted to make sure and get on and give some information out there and hopefully help people learn new things and maybe be able to branch out and learn even more. I really feel strongly about this topic, so I really wanted to share about it. This is something I do not keep my mouth shut about. There's several parenting options that I will just let the child be, let the parent be. This is something I will open my big mouth and tell you you are wrong because I care about your child's life. One of the big numbers that should really concern parents and really make it a priority for them to learn about car seat safety is between 2006 and 2010, 4,028 children under the age of 13 were killed in car accidents, and 660,000 were injured. These are huge numbers. This is why it's so important to be educated and informed about car seat safety and to make sure that you're doing everything in your power to keep your children safe. Now, this is another big number that's really important to take into consideration. As informed as parents are, 95% of them are still making car seat mistakes. So it's important for parents to not only make wise decisions about car seat safety, but to keep informed about not only your car seat, but new laws that are being in effect, your own car, and making sure you are up to date about everything there is to know about car seat safety. My biggest argument about car seat safety, about it being a choice and a decision in parenting, is that in the end, it's life and death. And you're putting your child's safety in other people's hands ultimately. You know, when you go out driving, after you buckle your child in the car seat that you've chosen, their lives are in other people's hands. Mine, yours, the drunk guy who just left the bar, the 80-year-old woman who still has her license. You never know what could happen out there, and after you make the simple decisions that you do when you buckle your child in, it's really out of your control. So, I wanted to make sure and give you guys some tips. The tips that I'm going to use are from Safe Kids USA, and it's their 5 checks. So I kind of wanted to go off of those and elaborate on them and put in my 2 cents, of course. So their first check is to have the right seat. My first advice about this is to get a new seat. Never get a used seat. You have no idea what kind of things it's been through that can jeopardize its safety, and you have a chance to check the expiration date, but you just don't know what's happened in the time since they bought the car seat or when it was manufactured and when you're going to be using it and putting your child in it. So the first seat you're going to put your child in is an infant car seat, and these usually have an upper limit of about 25 to 30 pounds and also a height limit of about 25 inches. So these seats are the safest for infants, but then they do need to transfer to a convertible car seat once they are uncomfortable in their infant seat or they've reached their limit. So once you get into a convertible seat, you need to make sure that they are rear facing in their convertible car seat until the minimum being 20 pounds and 1 year. No matter if your child is 5 months and 20 pounds, you still need to make sure you rear face them until 1 year. This is by law, and like I said, it's the minimum. So they also suggest, the CPS and AAP suggest to keep your child rear facing until 2 years old and or the max of your car seat. On average, that's to 30, 35, even 40 pounds if you have a great car seat. And then also to watch your height of your child depending on your car seat and the shell of your car seat, so their head is under the 1 inch mark of their car seat. Then you can go ahead and forward face your child in that same convertible car seat, and you need to make sure your child is forward facing in a 5-point harness until they either reach the limit of their seat, that would be the max, or the minimum is 4 years and 40 pounds. So at 4 years and 40 pounds, your child can then move on to a booster. Their seatbelt is in the right position. And then after the booster seat, after they either outgrow the booster seat or they reach 8 years old and they can pass the 5-step check, then they can move on to a seatbelt. In Colorado, the law now is that your child needs to be in a proper restraint, meaning 5-point harness or booster, until 8 years old. And then they need to pass that 5-step check and make sure the seatbelt is in the right position on their body, and then they can use just a seatbelt. But they still need to be in the back seat until 13 years of age. Safe Kids USA's second check is right place. So the right place in your car. Your child should always be in the back seat. Under 13 years of age, they need to be in the back seat. The safest place in the back seat is the middle seat. So this is where the child who is the least protected needs to be. That means if you have 2 children, the child who is forward facing should be in the middle of the seat, in the back of the seat. This is because of side impact crashes. The child who's least protected in their car seat needs to be in the center where they're as far away as the impact as possible. Then you can move out. So a child who is rear facing can sit on the outside. And the most important thing with that is proper install. If you cannot get a proper install of your car seat in your car in the center, but you can on one of the outsides, then your child should be sitting on the outside where their seat can be properly installed, and it's the safest for them in that aspect. The car seat lady, which I'll put a link to her great site down below, says it's 43% safer for your child to be in that middle position rather than on the sides. So check number 3 on Safe Kids USA's site is right direction. So my favorite quote and rebuttal and statement for rear facing is every step in car seat advancement is a step down in your child's safety and protection. Meaning the step up to forward facing is a step down in their safety and protection. So make sure you remember that, and hopefully that'll kind of aid in your decision when you rear face and forward face. The minimum for rear facing, like I said, is 20 pounds and 1 year. Now I also said the suggestion is 2 years as the next minimum, or your child's seat's maximum for rear facing. This is when your decision on when you're buying a car seat, on what car seat you buy, comes in effect big time. If you have a car seat that only rear faces until 30 pounds, then that's your limit, and that's when you're forced to turn your child around. If you get an awesome car seat that rear faces until 40 pounds and upper limits of height, then you can keep your child the safest they can by rear facing. Another statistic from the Great Car Seat Lady says that rear facing is 5 times more safe than forward facing. 5 times. You can keep your child 5 times as safe by simply keeping them rear facing. This is because your child's head and neck can stay in unison with their body, and the car seat ends up absorbing most of that impact force. Some common concerns about keeping your child rear-faced for longer is one about their legs. People say they look uncomfortable, or their legs are going to get hurt, or anything. People are so concerned about their legs just being bent in their car seat. We have to remember children are a lot more flexible than us adults, and they are a lot more comfortable when they are nice and compact and comfy and folded up. Watch your child sit down. They usually have their legs folded in some fashion. This is the same when they sit in their car seat. They are comfortable and they are just fine. They will find a way to be comfortable no matter which way they're facing. The other concern is rear end crashes. And the biggest thing to put this to rest is that only 4% of crashes nowadays are rear end crashes. The other big thing about that is rear end crashes are usually not that big of a deal. There's usually not fatalities and very low concern injuries. Now, for all those other crashes, the side impact crashes, the head-on crashes, those are 96% of crashes. And these are the ones that have fatalities and big-time injuries. And like I said before, your child is 5 times safer in those crashes if they are rear facing. It is also shown that children are just as safe rear facing as they are forward facing in a rear end collision. So there's no doubt about it, rear facing is so much safer. And it's so simple to just not turn your child forward facing. Just keep them rear facing. So after you decide to move your child forward facing, then you need to also forward face and keep them in that 5-point harness until the seat's max, or the minimum, which is 40 pounds. You can move your child into a booster seat at 40 pounds, and you need to make sure the seat belt is in the proper position, and you also need to talk to your child about how they sit. They need to be proper and sit up straight and not fall asleep so that their safety isn't compromised by only being supported by that seat belt. Then they can move into just the seatbelt once they can pass the 5-point check, and I'll put that down below as well. Safe Kids USA's 4th check is the inch test. This comes in when you're installing your car seat. So the first biggest thing about installing your car seat is to not only read your entire car seat manual front to back and fully understand it and fully be educated on it, but also look at your car manual and make sure you're installing your car seat. I've got loud kids today. Make sure you're installing your car seat in your car correctly with your car's manual as well. Now, then comes in the fact that not every car seat fits in every car. You might have to end up getting a different car seat if it does not install in your car correctly. When you are installing your car seat, you need to make sure, either using the seatbelt or latch, not both, that you get it tight enough that the seat does not move more than an inch one way or another. If it moves more than an inch and you cannot tighten that seatbelt any tighter or the latch any tighter, then that is not a good match and you need a different seat. Another thing to be educated about with your car seat and your car is top tethers. You can use top tethers both rear facing and forward facing. It's more important to use them and sometimes even mandatory to use them rear facing. And you can check your manuals for information about that, and there's lots of information online as well. The other important thing with installation is how your car seat touches the front seats of your car, your passenger and driver seats of your car. Most car seats say that they can touch, but they cannot rest or rely on those seats. Safe Kids USA's 5th and final check is the pinch test. I'm also adding to this the chest test. So this applies to when you are actually buckling your child up. We're finally to that. So you need to make sure your child's straps are tight enough that you cannot pinch them. This includes the straps that go along their hips that lead up to their chest. You need to make sure and pull the hip straps and then the chest, and then tighten, usually down at the base of your seat. Then you need to make sure that you cannot pinch. You can put one finger under, that is safe. If you can put 2 fingers on top of each other underneath the straps, that means they need to be tightened more. Now, the other thing that I added to this is the chest test. Your clip of the car seat needs to be in line with the child's armpits. Now, something that can help you with both the pinch test and the chest test is making sure your child is sitting up straight and their bottom is fully engaged into that back of the seat. Something that can also jeopardize both of those tests is the clothing that you put your children in, especially during the winter. Winter coats and snowsuits do not belong on a child in a car seat. There's plenty of things that you can do to keep your child warm in a car seat, and I'll make sure and do another video on that before we really get into cold weather. The last thing that I want to touch on about strap safety is to make sure your child's straps, when they're rear facing, are coming from just below or at their shoulders, and when they're forward facing, to make sure that they're coming from just above or at the shoulders. The last thing that I want to touch on is informing your child. In the end, you cannot be back there holding your child's hand while they're in their car seat. That is why they are buckled and safe. You need to allow your child to be informed and educated as well, so they know not to touch their straps unless you ask them to, or if they're helping you and if you're present. You also need to inform them that they have a proper way to sit in their car seat for their safety. Up straight, and not slouching or trying to escape out of the straps or anything like that. This also can carry on if you start young in their 5-point harness to when they go into a booster. It keeps them much safer in their booster and you don't have to fight with them about it. And then along the lines of being in their own car with their friends or in another parent's car without you, they know how to act and you don't have to be there telling them every chance you can to sit up straight and be proper in their seats. This then can follow into when they're a teenager driving and they can tell their friends to buckle up and you don't have to worry as much. And then they can also carry that on to their own children. And that's what we always hope, that we teach our children things that they can then take on into their own life. So I hope this helped you guys and maybe inspired you to go do a little bit more research or even turn your child back rear facing or put them back into a 5-point harness instead of a booster, and to make sure your kids are safe. It's also a really great idea to check your car seats at least once a month. Make sure that install is still nice and tight and the straps are where they should be. I'll make sure and put all helpful links down below so you guys can make sure and check things out. And I would love to hear anything else from you guys concerning car seat safety. I will also do another video on my car seats and why I love my car seats, and also winter car seat safety, because that's very important and something that maybe not all parents know about. See you later, guys.